Hello, and welcome to Success Stories with Key, where you get a chance to see success through the eyes of someone who is achieving success. So, what is success? Success means different things to different people. I'm interested in hearing from these people and finding out about their achievements, their challenges, and their keys to success. This week, I have the honor of speaking with Stella Fang. Hello, Stella. Welcome to Success Stories with Key.
Hello. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're very, very welcome. So Stella has over 8 years of consulting experience she's gained across SaaS platforms, corporate development strategy, culture, and change management. Now, that sounds very corporate. Who is the real Stella?
The real Stella. Well, the real Stella is someone who was born and raised in Sydney, Australia, and I've lived here my whole life. And I would call myself a very friendly and open person who's passionate about personal development. I really like reading nonfiction books and getting to know better about like how I can build high performance mindset within myself. And I'm always open to new perspectives and meeting new people. And I love to meet people who might have similar values to me, but they have lived their life very differently to me, or they have a different perspective on the things that we might talk about. And I think one of the key things for me these days is mentoring young professionals has been something that's kind of come naturally to me. And I've been surrounded by a lot of younger people in my current organization. And I don't know, I feel like it's a very natural space for me to be in and be comfortable sharing with them.
Amazing. That's a really inspirational answer. So I'm going to jump straight into it. What are some of your proudest achievements?
Some of my proudest achievements are I went to Patagonia in South America and I did the W Trek there, and I managed to do it with a tour group and I made a few friends along the way.
So
Um,
not a walk in the park.
oh, it was a really, really hard walk. Um, I also represented the Australian squad in a like agile practitioner marathon, like 24-hour marathon with like the all the global squads at DXC Technology, which was a privilege to do. And I also had the privilege of working on a acquisition of a company called System Partners by DXC Technology, and I had the pleasure of joining the team and entering the Salesforce ecosystem. So I think those are like my top three key achievements so far.
Amazing. And why are you proud of these achievements?
Well, I'm really proud of these achievements because I was put in very challenging situations for me at that time, and I was I went through a lot of personal growth and struggle, but at the end of it, I was able to show myself that I am capable of doing hard things, and that with the right support, I can like achieve anything that I set my mind to. And it helped me feel more comfortable with challenging the imposter syndrome that I was having at that time.
So when you first started out, did you think you'd be doing what you're doing now?
Not at all. I was just saying yes to opportunities that came my way, and uh, it was interesting because I was in an really tense executive meeting, and I was challenging the points of view of executive leaders. And after that meeting, they came to me and said, "Do you want to join our team? I think you'd be a really good key member, and you'd grow well with us." And I said yes, and I joined System Partners, and I've entered the Salesforce ecosystem. I never knew that my title would end with architect. So life is really surprising in that sense.
So before you mentioned that you had experienced some challenges along your way. Are you able to share these with us?
Yeah, so some of the challenges, I think, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that things always end up in the right situation. And sometimes things don't work that way. There could be like timing constraints or budget constraints or resources not being in the right capacity to help with things. And I would take things not going to plan or a go live not happening as a personal failure. um, I think that I have a very strong team player mindset. So when it comes to like outcomes not being met, I take it very personally. Um, and I guess I also tend to say yes to things that I should say no to. Sure, it's helped me create better opportunities for myself, helped me grow as a person. Um, Sometimes it hasn't happened in the way that I wanted it to. So, for example, I was supporting a project like in a capacity that I wasn't really comfortable with. So I was supporting as like a project manager when my background is more like solutions consulting, and the project manager on the client side actually was asking me very challenging questions, and I had a very emotional response to that. And um, he helped to coach me through the emotions, but I knew at that point that I was not in a position to succeed.
So what are some failures that you may have experienced?
So from a failure perspective, I don't really see. I've kind of reframed failure to be more of a learning opportunity, and the biggest learning opportunities are when I have been, I guess, holding myself to unrealistic expectations and saying yes to things when I should have been saying no instead, and not asking for help when I've needed it. Always be curious to my own emotional response to the stimulus. Like if it's a really strong stimulus and I have a strong emotional response, it means that there might have been some values that have been violated, and I should, I guess, reframe that again and remove the emotional, remove the emotion from the actual stimulus.
Makes sense. That's great advice. Now, you've mentioned values a few times. What are some of your values?
Um, I'm in the process of redefining my values. I think some of my values have been a little, um, they've kind of been coping mechanisms for things that kind of were hard in my life. But my list of values are around discipline, curiosity, having a focus on the future, and building connections and feeling connected with my community. Um, and I think that I still care about those things a lot, but I'm kind of redefining it a little bit. So stay tuned.
So what advice would you give to people to overcome these challenges or avoid these failures?
For me personally, how I've been able to manage these things a little bit better is I have built a really good support network of people around me who care genuinely about me, and instead of just saying, "Oh, just deal with it." They actually listen to what I'm feeling and coach me through how to remove the emotional response out of the activity or task at hand. The second thing is that I do a lot of gratitude journaling. So every day I make sure that I'm grateful for something. It helps to reframe my perspective for the rest of that day. And then the third thing is I do my best to set boundaries with someone, um, to make sure that I'm not crossing the threshold of what I can take on.
Okay, let's move on to success. How do you define success?
Okay, success, I've always kind of defined it in the frame of productivity. So getting like the most efficient and effective outcome with the, I guess, appropriate level of effort given the constraints. And I'm kind of shifting that definition to be more values based. So instead of just about outcomes and effort, it's about living my day to day life, producing those outcomes in a way that's kind of aligned to my values, instead of just pushing as hard as possible to get the outcome for that day. And I guess like talking about my values would be, am I showing up in a kind and compassionate way with my team as well as the client stakeholders? Am I giving the best version of myself for that day? Am I producing my best work for that day? And have I been able to shift a perspective? So have I been able to change someone's mind or give them a new insight or even give myself a new insight, learn something new? And I think those are the key areas that I'm kind of trying to shift more towards to define my success.
Fantastic. So are you able to share some of the things that you've done that have made you successful?
I think I've said some of it before. I always say yes to opportunities that I'm not really ready for, but I make sure that those opportunities are offered by people who I trust and feel safe with, who are actually wanting me to succeed instead of wanting someone to fill that position. I guess the other thing is I'm becoming more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So I always have to do something that's challenging every day. So if someone comes up to me and said, I bet you can't do this, I will say, I bet you I can. And I will do everything in my power to try and get that thing done.
Fantastic. So let me try and play back to you what I interpret as your key to success. Today I've got 3. So the first is to say yes to opportunities that come along. And what you need to do is apply a layer of making sure that it's safe and you're set up to succeed. The second thing is to develop a good support network for yourself to make sure that you're in a position to succeed. And when rough patches come along, you've got someone there to help you out. And the third thing that I really like is values-based productivity. So being productive is great, but it has to be aligned with values. So I'm calling it values-based productivity. Have I captured these correctly?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah.
So my last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice I'd give for my younger self is that the way that I think, the way that I feel, and the way that I behave, and how I interact with other people, these are all things that are valid. Like, and anyone who tells you otherwise is projecting their own insecurities or trying to make you feel a certain way so that they can take advantage of that situation. And that you should always know that it is enough for you to just exist and not have to be like productive to any degree. As long as you show up and you're conscious of who you are and what other people are doing, that's enough.
Amazing. That's a great answer. So thank you very much, Stella. It's amazing having you here. And thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Follow Key to Success so you can benefit from my learnings as I undertake my own journey to success.